Hi, good afternoon, everyone. How are you all? I hope you're doing very well. And welcome back to the class of BCAR. We are doing chapter number 1, communication. And today is the last class of communication. So thank you. There was some people who have actually come up to tell me that they enjoyed the class. I'm glad that you're enjoying the class. But along with that, are your doubts clear? Are the concepts clear to you? Is there any problem that you have? I am good to see you all too. I can't see you technically, but I know you guys are there. So yeah. Uh, okay. So whatever we have done in last two class, I hope the concepts are clear to you. There is no problem. Mostly from this chapter, you get the subjective question. You don't get objective questions from there. So in order to answer the subjective questions, it's important that the concepts are clear to you and you can write it on your own as well. Things are pretty much easy and I've tried to make it as easy as possible. But it's still, in case you have any doubts, please ask me now before I start with the new concepts today and finish this chapter. Whatever problems that you have, you can ask me. Is there any topic that you want me to repeat again and explain again? Come on, tell me. Okay, so there are some doubts. First doubt is in the visual communication. So visual communication is basically when you communicate with someone through visuals. Now, the example that I gave was that in a company, uh, there is a meeting that is held. Okay. So now you have doubts with the chain network, basically. That I'll come on that. Let me just quickly explain you what visual communication is. Visual communication is when you communicate with someone through visuals, basically. And what do we include in visuals? It's signs, it's typography, it's drawing, it's graphic designing, illustration, color, and other anything that I'm so sorry. Just give me a second. Nabeen, I know. I'm so sorry for that. You'll get all three by evening for sure. I promise. Okay, so there are some n number of doubts. Let me just quickly write down what all doubts you have, or what all doubts you all have together, so that I can quickly summarize everything. Okay, so one of you has said, Arshdeep, your problem is with the visual communication. Second is the circuit network, star network. I think I'm going to explain everything together, the chain network thing. Sorry, network communication. I don't think formal and informal is so difficult. Manvi, I don't know about scalar chain. That's not in your study material. Priyanshi, I am going to share a video with you all. We will be watching a video together. And for that, and while watching that video, non-verbal communication will be clear to you. Okay. So in non-verbal, and fourth is, I have not reached to coherence, Vivek Kumar. I will not explain you things that I've not taught. Ziva, what is the problem with grapevine? Okay, so like I said, I will start one by one. Visual communication is basically when you are communicating with somebody through visuals, right? For example, the board meeting is being conducted and they want to know how the company did during that one particular year, financial year. So the one way is, of course, you prepare a report and then you explain the entire report, right? But in that case, some people might miss out onto the lot of information, and even you might miss out on some information. Okay. So in that case, we take the help of visuals, right? We create the entire graphs, we create diagrams, we make it as easy as possible so that everybody understands. Sometimes, and not sometimes, like every time in offices also, you create such visuals so that it goes along with your, whatever you're speaking, whatever you're trying to explain. So visuals just make your work a little easier, right? Signs on the road, you have so many road signs given to you, so they're communicating to you, right? The left turn is not allowed. There's no the government cannot depute one person there to tell you every day that this is not allowed or that is not allowed, right? There's certain signs that is followed universally, so we just put up those signs and you look at the sign visually and you understand what it means. So left turn is not allowed, or that road is not allowed, I mean, like, whatever. So so many road signs are given to you. Okay, so this is visual communication. Now let's come into the network in communication. Now network in communication is again pretty easy if you would have understood. I'll go very quick. So first is the vertical. Now vertical has only two people involved, right? Supervisor and subordinate. Okay, so they basically communicate with each other. They're just two people. One is supervisor, one is a subordinate. These two people are not on the same level. They are at a different level. One is senior to another one is junior to another one. Am I clear? Okay, next is the circuit. Circuit is also between two people, but they are both on the same level, right? And then there is a circle going on between these. Message and feedback. Now they keep exchanging messages and feedback. But the only difference is in vertical, they are not on the same level. In circuit, they are on the same level. So probably two managers of the different department are discussing something together, right? Okay, next is chain. In chain, basically, there's a chain that works. As the name suggests, there is one boss. They have two juniors. Okay. Now B also has one junior, C also have juniors. So the information flows from here, then it goes down, 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 down. Okay, the orders, instructions, that is how they move. Clear? Now in wheel and spoke, there is one single authority, one single person who is the authority and manages everyone solely. every department, every person. Are we clear? Yes. So this person alone manages everyone. Okay. Now this is more applicable in the small businesses, not in the large organizations. The larger organizations, you need at least the chain network, or if not the chain network, then star network. So you need different kind of networks basically, and everything works together when it comes to large organization, when it comes to so many people. Are we clear? Now, the star network is, as the name suggests again, look at this. How do you make a star? You make a star like this. Yes, that's how you make a star. Now let me name. Now in the star network, anybody can communicate with anyone without following any particular chain. Clear? Okay, so it makes the work a little more easier. So this one has no hindrance. People can exchange ideas and everything. I just gave you an example of circuit network. Come on, it is the most easiest thing. Okay, so now A can talk to B. Okay, D can talk to B also. E and C can talk to each other. E can also talk to the B directly, right? So this becomes a star network. Now, this one is pretty easier so that, the work is done quickly. They don't have to follow any chain. Am I clear now? So actually, it depends which network is useful and best. It totally depends on the kind of organization and the type of work we're doing. Avinash, it is very easy. What is the confusion between vertical and circuit network? Come on, tell me. Ali, I don't know which mode is communication is most effective, because it depends on with whom are you communicating, with whom are you talking. Now, for example, somebody is in US, your client is in US, you are sitting in India. You have to decide what is better for you, a phone call, a video call, or an email. What are the disadvantages of star network? I think it can create a little bit of confusion. People might be skipping some people in the loop. Okay, so they might be, missing out to some information, right? Some people might be out of the network and they don't even know about it. So that could be a disadvantage. Now, can I start with another topic? I'm going to start with the characteristics of effective communication. Then I'm going to show you one video. We'll be discussing that video at length. Can we start with this? All right. Now let's start with the characteristics of effective communication. Communication is a most important thing for any communication. Okay, for anything possible, because we are communicating on the daily basis with so many people. We're not just one people, but we're talking to so many people every day. So there are few things that we need to keep in mind to have effective communication. Now, what do you mean by effective communication? I keep repeating this. Effective communication is, you said something, to your friend. Okay, you are both are having a conversation or communication, and you said something, we heard it, okay, and we heard it and kind of respond also, but the response was not apt, okay, and you think that, I said something else, what is B talking about, and what kind of a reaction is this? In that case, it is not an effective communication. The communication is complete, of course. You said something, we also responded. But characteristics. Look at the characteristics on your screens and tell me which all characteristics would be missing if the B is not responding appropriately to A. Which all characteristics do you think would be missing? Completeness, clarity, focus. In that case, it could be anything, right? We don't know how the other person was behaving, so we don't know. It could be possible that the speaker was not clear, right? It could be possible that the other one did not understand. It could be possible that the sender, the message that was sent was not complete. Listening. It could be possible the receiver was not listening to understand, and many things, right? So in this case, now you have to understand that for every communication, all of this is very important. Now you all have said it yourself that if it was not effective, then everything would be a reason. Somebody has said clarity, somebody said conscious, somebody has said concreteness, somebody said coherence, somebody said conciseness, somebody said courteousness. Could be anything. So that means if we follow everything, the characteristics, the communication will be effective. All right. So now these are on your screens. I have mentioned this in a table. I will be explaining you each characteristics one by one. So the first is clarity. Then you have conciseness. Then you have concreteness. Then you have coherence. Then you have completeness, courteousness, listening for understanding, focus, and attention, emotional awareness. Am I clear? Can I start one by one now? Look at clarity. Now, clarity is, as the word, I will be coming on to each word. Stop asking me questions. Clarity. Clarity means that your message should be clear. Clarity means clear, right? The language should be simple. Sentences to be short. Each idea and or point should be explained separately. I'm not mentioning the word separately here, but separately. Now, what it means. One, you should be clear, or the person who's speaking should be clear what the other person is trying to say and or trying to convey. If you do not have clarity in your mind, you will never have clarity while speaking, right? आपको हमेशा एक clarity से बात करनी चाहिए, clear बात की ये मेरी बात है, right? If you are not clear in your mind, if you're not clear with your words, the communication can never be effective. Language should be simple. Whenever you're talking to somebody, unless the other person also shares the same intellect and can understand what you're saying, never use difficult words, because difficult words at times create confusions. Because if the other person doesn't understand, difficult language, then there could be confusions. Then come sentences to be short. I always tell this in the writing skills also. you should always make sure the sentences are short and sweet. क्योंकि जब हम लंबा लंबा कुछ बोलते जाते हैं, long sentences, the meaning gets lost. At times we get confused. I'm sure it happens with everybody. At times we just speaking, and then we realize that we lost the track. We were talking about something else, and we've reached somewhere else, right? So you can't keep a track of what you are saying yourself. Then comes each idea or point should be explained. All of these points are not only limited to when you are speaking. All these points are also valid when you're writing. Right? Writing is also a form of communication. So whenever you're writing also, each point you should explain separately. You should know what you're going to speak. You should know what you're going to write. Don't mix ideas. Don't mix points. That will confuse you as well as the receiver. Clear? Anything else? Conciseness. Now, what is conciseness? Again, pretty easy. Conciseness is basically you have to keep everything short and brief. You don't have to go on and on and on about anything. Nobody has time to read lengthy messages. Nobody has time to hear long conversations. Okay. So, and especially professionally, you have to stick to your point. You have to be very concise. Now, whatever we're talking about the business English and business communication here. We are talking about the professional, how you communicate professionally. Okay, so make sure that you are not, just going on and on and on stories. They're not your friends. Okay, so nobody has time to listen to what you are saying, right? And as you grow bigger and bigger and mature in life, nobody has time for long conversations because everybody is so busy. Clear? Avoid irrelevant words, avoid adjectives, avoid unnecessary things like okay, like don't take these breaks. Okay, that makes it very irritating for somebody. And there's some people who has this what do you call habit of using few words that they use after every sentence. They will use this word, like they will say something. I don't know. I don't know. I think this is how it is. I don't know. Okay, maybe yes. So they add certain phrases just unnecessarily anywhere. You see, this had happened. Or you see, this has happened. So people tend to use some phrases. They just become habitual about it. Don't use that because again, you're making your conversations long, and it's not a good impression when it comes to business communication. Am I clear? Brevity is conciseness. Okay, something brief and short. Now, next is, are we clear about this? And avoid repetitions. When you're talking, especially, stop repeating yourself. Don't repeat yourself again and again and again. Okay, again, nobody has time. People get bored. Don't make your conversations boring with somebody. It has to be interesting. Are we clear? Are we clear with these two? Any confusion? Any confusion that anybody has? Okay, great. So the next is concreteness and coherence. Now, concreteness is basically that you should, whatever you're talking should make sense, okay? That should exist. Tangible means that should have some, existence of the facts. It shouldn't be abstract. It shouldn't be in conciseness is short. Okay. So it should be based on data. It should not be based on abstract ideas. Okay. I think 1 second. No abstract ideas. Okay. One should have a proper data, proper information, proper facts while talking. Again, I'm going to reinforce this that we are talking here about business communication here. So you shouldn't talk about something that doesn't make sense, right? You should stick to the topic that you are discussing, and you should be able to uh, base your argument or base your discussion on something. Clear? Coherence. Now, coherence is basically when that you should make sense logically. Okay, there should be a proper sequence in what you say. There should be a proper logic behind what you say. There should be a connection between your words, your sentences, your paragraphs. Don't mix things. Don't mix your ideas. Don't use contradictory ideas to express yourself. It should be sequential. Whatever you're talking about, it should be relevant, interconnected, and present information. It should be based on present information. Are we clear? Sakaldeep, it's a good question. So he says that I have said that we should use short paragraph. Then my company's documents contain a much large, long you mean, details, whether it can be. So Sakaldeep, it depends what they're discussing. What we are trying to say here is that you should break down your points of discussion and you should discuss one point in one paragraph. And I don't know what all information they share in that paragraph. It can be shortened or not. Sometimes what happens is that you basically have, for example, you in companies where usually when they prepare reports or articles about what is happening, they have a lot of data or statistics to discuss, right? So they cannot make it short, right? They will they will have to write long things. But if they are sticking to their one point of discussion, they're sticking to their one idea, then it will not create confusion. But if they're discussing two, three different things together in one paragraph, then now that is problematic. All right. Okay. So concreteness is basically, sorry, no, coherence is contradictory ideas means, how do I tell you this? When we are talking, when you are talking, like I said, your conversations should make sense. Okay. And at times when we're just speaking, we tend to say things that contradict to what we were saying initially. Okay. So if some example comes to my mind, I'll just share with you because I have to give you a situation based on it. Right. So like I said, it should be logical, it should be sequential. That is coherence. Then comes the completeness. Now, what is completeness? This, as the name suggests, it should be complete with information, facts. It should keep. Now, you should also keep in mind the reader's intellect and attitude. You shouldn't just talk in your usual self and you think that things will be done. Yes, Masu. Perfect. So completeness is basically you have to complete the facts and information. You should have everything together, gripped while speaking and while writing. You should keep in mind the receiver's intellect and attitude. Okay. At times, you are getting the things done from a vendor who is not as educated as you are, right? So while speaking, you have to explain the other person in certain way that the other person understands. Okay, so you have to understand that what is the attitude of the person and what is the intellect of the person, and that is how you will explain. Clear? Complete information helps in building reputation and aids in better decision making. Now, what does that mean? That means that, when you talk effectively, when you communicate effectively, it creates a good impression. It is good for your reputation, right? Some people are remembered for their communication. Some people are remembered how they spoke to somebody, right? So in that case, you should always work on your communication skills, because that is the first and foremost that creates impression on somebody and aids in better decision making. Because if the other person understands what you're saying, and if you are also able to convey what you're trying to say, then it becomes easier to take a decision together if you both are on the same page. Contradictory usually means different. The word contradictory means different. Okay, what you mean, and you say something else. So you're behaving in a certain way and you're saying something else. That is contradiction, right? All right, courteousness. Now, this is a very important rule according to me, because you need to be respectful, you need to be polite, you need to be honest, you need to be open to what other people have to say. You can't just shout at somebody, or you can't just misbehave with somebody. You need to have some politeness and softness in while you are speaking. So you need to be courteous. Unless you are actually in a fight with somebody, you need to be courteous. You have to make sure that you don't say anything offensive or with a hidden tone is included. Like you shouldn't, show the other person that you're insulting somebody openly and upfront. You have to say things accordingly, respectfully. Say everything. I'm not saying you should know how to say your feelings, express your feelings and anger in a very decent way too. That is something that really works. And that especially works in a professional world. Because you cannot just, if you feel bad about something, you can't start fighting. Okay, because eventually you're working together. So you need to find the words and the style that is courteous, polite, and soft spoken. And you should be able to express yourself also without offending anyone. Any problems? Any problems that anybody has? I'm waiting. Is there anyone who has a problem? Yeah, these are pretty easy. Swati, is there any particular topic? Okay. So one of you have requested in Hindi, so let me just explain it quickly that clarity is जब आप अपनी बात में बिल्कुल क्लियर होते हैं और आप क्लियर होना चाहिए. So अगर आपको अपनी कॉन्वर्सेशन में क्लैरिटी लानी है, then you need to bring clarity in your mind first. If you will be clear about what you are saying, अगर आप क्लियर होंगे कि आप क्या बोलना है और कैसे बोलना है, तो सामने वाले को आपकी बात बेटर समझ आएगी. आपकी लैंग्वेज हमेशा सिंपल होनी चाहिए, सेंटेंसेस शॉर्ट होने चाहिए, उसमें गलतियां कम होती हैं, एंड हर पॉइंट और हर डिस्कशन को आपने आराम से एक्सप्लेन करना है एक एक करके. कंसाइजनेस इज कि जितनी कॉन्वर्सेशन छोटी होगी, कंसाइज होगी, पॉइंट पर होगी, उतना बेटर होगा, उतनी ही कम्युनिकेशन बेटर होती है. क्योंकि किसी के पास टाइम नहीं है बहुत ही लॉन्ग कॉन्वर्सेशंस करने का. सो जितना छोटा उतना बेटर. इररिलेवेंट वर्ड्स को यूज ना करें और कोई रेपिटेशन को भी अवॉइड करें, आई वुड से, आई एम नॉट सेइंग कि ना करें, अवॉइड करें रेपुटेशंस नाउ। क्लियर? abstract ideas means Zeba, I mean the ideas जिनका कोई base नहीं होता, they are just made in somebody's head. Priyanshu, I'm coming there. I'm not started yet. All right. So next is concreteness. Concreteness is that आप जो भी बोलते हैं, it should be based on some fact. उसका कोई मतलब होना चाहिए. It's not that कि बस आपने सोच लिया तो आपने कह दिया और ऐसा होगा. No. आप जब कोई बात करते हैं तो it should have something. I mean, like आपके पास कोई चीज का proof होना चाहिए, कोई evidence होना चाहिए, किसके base पे अभी बात कर रहे हैं. Coherence is basically the understanding or quality of being logical, okay, and in talking in sequence. So आपकी जो भी बात है आपको हमेशा लॉजिकली करनी चाहिए, अपने वर्ड सेंटेंसेस पैराग्राफ के बीच में एक रिलेशन मेंटेन करना चाहिए, आइडियाज को मिक्स बिल्कुल ना करें, और कॉन्ट्रोडिक्टरी आइडियाज, आई मीन दो डिफरेंट बातों के बारे में बात मत करें. ओके, डोंट टेक two different examples to just to prove yourself right. Contradictory means, for example, I look angry and I'm saying that I'm not angry. This is contradiction. Okay. Sequentially अपने thoughts को organize करें, logically organize करें, और relevant or interconnected or present information के based topics पे ही बात करें. Don't talk about something that happened 30 years ago. Right? You have to be based on what is now, like now. Completeness, आपकी हमेशा हर बात complete होनी चाहिए. They should have, and you have to keep in mind कि सामने वाले का intellectual कैसा है, कि आप सामने वाले को आपकी बात सारी समझ आएगी, तो आपको अपने messages को change उसके according करना चाहिए. It should have complete information because that builds the reputation. अगर आपको अच्छे से बात करनी आती है तो आपकी रेपुटेशन के लिए बहुत अच्छा होता है. Then comes the, and it helps in better decision making, because जो आपने कहा और सामने वाले को भी बिल्कुल better एकदम clear समझ आया, that means in that case the decision taking will be easier. Courteousness, you should be polite. आपको बहुत प्यार से बात समझानी चाहिए और करनी चाहिए, बहुत ही softly. You shouldn't be rude with anybody. Now, listening for understanding. Now, what does that mean? A good listener is a listener who doesn't only focus on the words, but also focus on the non-verbal cues, as in tone, body language, gesture, tones, all of that. So, एक listener का काम ये नहीं होता है कि जो words बोले हैं तो वो समझना है. एक अच्छा listener वो होता है जो आपको देख के पूरी बात समझ सके. Are we clear? Now, a good listener basically absorbs what the sender, speaker is saying, processes it, and understands its context. So, उसका context समझता है और meaning समझता है. Anything else? Last two are left. One is the focus and attention. Now, what is focus and intention? Helps in better decision making. Lakshata. Aids means helps. Focus and attention. Now, focus and attention are also very different and very important things. What happens is that every day we are doing multiple activities. We are just engaged in so many activities. And, at times what is happening is, the phone is ringing, then there is an email that you need to answer, then there's so many tasks on your mind and a lot of anxiety to work and a lot of stress. So you need to focus yourself for the communication. Otherwise, the communication will never be effective. You need to be there, right there, to make sure that what it is, to make them understand. Next is emotional awareness and control. Now, emotions play a very big role in characteristics. They are powerful force that affect our perception of reality, regardless of how hard we try to remain unbiased. Now, our emotions are influence us. Now, intense emotion can undermine a person's capacity for rational decision making. That means somebody who gets angry oftenly, that it will become for this person to take decisions in life, because the other person is not somebody who can handle his emotions. Okay, so at times what happens is that we don't understand the other person's emotions, and at the same time we can't manage our emotions and we cannot control that emotion. So we need to basically be emotionally aware, and we should be able to control ourselves for the effective communication. Are we clear? You can look at here. There are 6 C's, by the way, not 7. One of you wanted to note this. Uh, Focus and attention mean that you need to focus on the conversation while speaking. It's not that you can just speak whatever you want and be done with it. You need to know how to manage your own emotions. If you look at the page number 1.11, it says um, work environment has multiple activities going on simultaneously, a ringing of a phone, an incoming email, a number of tasks requiring your attention, anxiety related to work, emotional distress, etc., can distract you. Such distractions are detrimental into the communication process with an individual or a group of people. You may overlook or completely miss important things or cues in the interaction, thus keeping your focus attention during communication is imperative for effective communication, right? So it is very important for you to understand this communication. It is very important for you to focus on the communication, right? This is what it means. Right? So this is what it was about. Okay, so you need to focus, you need to be attentive about whatever is happening. If you're not, so when there's multiple things happening around you, you tend to lose focus. Okay, and when you're talking about the conversations, you need to be attentive and you need to have a focus, right? For example, I'll just give you one short example. One person is talking to you and you are just lost in some other thinking. Okay, you're just thinking about some work that needs to be done, and the other person is telling you what needs to be done right in the meeting that you about to enter, right? Then you will lose the whatever the other person was trying to say. And maybe the other person was trying to warn you for anything. And you might lose out to what he's saying. And then you end up making a blunder in the meeting. Okay, emotional. Now, emotional is that it plays a major role in our interaction with other people. They are powerful force that affect our perception of reality, regardless of how hard we try to remain unbiased. Now, our emotional intelligence can actually influence us, can make us biased towards something. Like it can make us biased during our conversation also. So we should try that we should not be biased. And when we are emotionally inclined, then we cannot make the rational decisions. Rational means just so समझ के decisions लेने होते हैं, समझदारी से लेने होते हैं. So at times when we are so emotionally inclined, then we might end up making a irrational decision. And also, it is important for us while we're communicating with somebody, and probably we're talking about some sensitive topic, it's very important for us to emotionally understand someone. Okay. And emotionally understand while speaking, you need to understand the intellect of the other person, and you need to understand the emotions of the other person as well, right? You cannot be just rude with somebody, and you can't be so blunt with somebody. You need to see how you're supposed to speak something and in the way you're supposed to speak something. Clear? Any confusions now? And of course, you need to respect somebody else's state of emotions and state of mind while talking. Anybody who has any query now? Anybody? You can ask me now. All right. Cues is the ideas. Haven't you ever played the game which gives you cues and then you have to guess something? Cues is like small things that you notice, some hints. Cues is hints, yes. So hints about somebody. I can go fast, but there's some students who need repetition. So again, like I always say, I need to take care of everyone. Vaishnavi, it is so easy. You just need to take care of your emotions so that you're not biased with somebody. And also you need to take care of the receiver's emotions so that you don't hurt anyone or you do not say something that is not required to say. Conciseness, to be short. All right. So we are done till here. And now we have another topic which talks about the barriers in communication. Okay. Now, can I move on? One last time, I'm asking you if there is any problem. Any problem? So one of you have asked me that I cannot explain my point properly. What is the problem in that? Isha, you need to start with the practice of organizing your thoughts first while speaking. You can have some planned conversations too. Because I understand when you are in the middle of an unplanned conversation or a spontaneous conversation, at that time it's very difficult to organize your thoughts, right? But for the planned conversations, you should know how to put up your point. You should break your things, write it down first. For this beginning, write down what all you want to discuss, and then you can plan your conversation, and then you'll see the difference. Statement by Lowenstein. Human behavior is not under the sole control of emotion or deliberation, but results from the interaction of these two processes. Now, it means that human behavior is not technically under the control of emotion or deliberation, but at the same time, we are the results. Whatever we do and whatever we talk, we are the combination of these two processes. So control of emotion, deliberation. Deliberation is when you think about something, right? Whatever you think, you speak, right? Whatever you intend. So this is what it means, that we are the product, our conversations are product of that. Clear? Yes. Okay. So now, without looking at the screen, I want you to tell me the characteristics of effective communication. I want you to quickly write in your query box, as many as you remember. There are about 9 in totality. Quickly write down how many characteristics you remember. You can explain. I don't want the explanation. I only want the headings to be discussed. Discussion. Explain in Hindi the last line. Okay, Lisa, I'll do that. Okay, sorry. I hope you're not looking at your study material to answer this question. Okay. Lisa, are you asking me to explain that quote in Hindi? Adya, you need to tell me more, not just one word. Just write it in one go in your query box, then only press enter. Okay. All right, Diksha, I appreciate whatever you remember. And you talk about managing your own emotions and at the same time respecting emotional state of others help in smooth interaction. That's what you're asking for. Okay, good enough. Whatever you remember. All right. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yes. So this quote says, जो एक ह्यूमन बिहेवियर होता है वो सोली इमोशंस को कंट्रोल नहीं करते हैं ना ही डेलिब्रेशंस करती है बट एट द सेम टाइम जो भी हम करते हैं हम इन दोनों की कॉम्बिनेशन से करते हैं so we are not in the control of one thing, we are in the control of two things, right? And we take the combination, we consider the combination of these two before interacting or communicating with anyone. Okay, we हम बहुत सारा इमोशनली भी बात को सोचते हैं और हम बहुत सारा सोचते भी हैं, we consider, we have a long discussions and then we carefully think about something and then we talk. Okay, so it's a combination of both. All right, so I'm going to take a 5 minutes break now. Yeah, right. Okay, let's take a 5 minutes break. I'll join back in 5 minutes and then we can go ahead with the barriers and we'll quickly finish that too and then we'll come up with a revision of this topic. All right. Okay, let's take a break for 5 minutes. All right, guys. Now we're just left with one topic. Let's just quickly finish that. And after that, we'll come on to the discussion that I've been talking about. And we'll have a pretty good experience of experiencing that. And we have, so that video will basically summarize what all we've been discussing so far and the problems. And then we will be covering each topic there, right? One by one. Great, Sagar. Good to know that you know everything. Now, let's quickly start with our last topic, which is the barriers in communication. Okay, I have not basically dissected these because they're pretty easy. So you have to listen to me very carefully. And everything is mentioned in your study material. I keep repeating this that I only stick to study material. I do not pick points from anywhere from the another source. So it is always from your study material only. Uh, Now, physical barriers. Now, what does that mean? Now, what is barriers in thing? Barriers is basically the hindrance that is created or the problem that can be created for the effective communication. What does that mean? What kind of problems that somebody faces? What kind of hurdles that somebody faces for the communication part? Physical barriers. What does that mean now? Physical barriers is these are the result of our surrounding noise, technical. I mean, we can have, so while we're talking to somebody and there could be noise in the background, there could be some technical disturbances like when we are on the phone, we can have some outdated equipment. There could be some network issue, uh, office doors, separate areas, whatever is whatever problem is created by the lack of inappropriate structures or infrastructures is the physical barrier. Am I clear? That can lead to the transmission of messages. Now, whatever is due to lack of infrastructure. So structure means some internet issue, external noises, old equipments, so something that is majorly there, tangibly there. Organizational structure barriers is when the system structure processes are not clear and have gaps in them. Now, what does that mean? What does the organizational structure barriers mean? Okay, so it means that if the chain of command is unclear, if you do not know whom to report, when to report, what all to report, and the person doesn't know whom to contact when there is a problem, right? In that case, there could be organizational structure problem. There is inappropriate information transmission, lack of supervision, unclear role, responsibility demarcation that leads to confusion and inefficiency. Now, in an organization, somebody comes to the somebody joins and the other person is told this AYZ is your boss, but he only looks after so and so particular area. Now this person, and he's been introduced to another person. So now this person is not being told whom to contact in terms of problem. The other person doesn't know who, and if this person goes back to the boss that was appointed to him and says that, I'm facing this problem. The person says that I don't take care of these things. I don't know what to do. In that case, the person gets confused where to go, whom to contact, whom should I discuss that this is a problem that I'm facing in the fields. So in that case, there's an organizational structure problem. When people are not clear about whom to share their information with, They don't know with whom they're supposed to ask the questions or to whom to report. So these small things, and that later on leads to a lot of confusion and if inefficiency. In that case, this is organizational structure barrier. Clear? Then comes the language barrier. Now, what is the language barrier? Language barrier is that when there is a lack of knowledge of a language. Okay. Now, if you are in the different okay, so you are a Delhi person. You have always lived in Delhi. You know English and Hindi, but Hindi mostly, not English. And you get a job in Chennai. Okay, so you don't know the regional language, right? And now, when you go there locally, you need to communicate with people too, local people as well. In that case, you will face the language barriers. Okay, when the language is different. So lack of knowledge of the language can create many obstacles in language, and this can actually create. This is why we are teaching you English, because English is one language that is used everywhere. So if you're not clear with your English, then you go to any workplace, you go to any country to work with, the first thing that you are going to face is a language barrier, right? People from different regions of the country may interpret the same words differently. Now, the other thing is that people that comes from different regions, they interpret words differently. They have their own gestures and verbal communication skills that is different. Okay. I'll give you one small example. There's certain words, the local words that are used, and in one language, I don't remember those words exactly, but they're very regionally used words. In one region, that word is a very normal word, and probably it is used very casually and appropriately. But in another region in India, that word is considered offensive. They cannot use this word. So in that case, again, you face language barriers. You don't mean offensive to somebody and you use certain words that is offensive to somebody else. So in that case, again, you will be facing a lot of language barriers. Difficult words, subject specific terminologies, unfamiliar expressions, ambiguous. Now, language does not only mean the way of talking in the language that you know, it also means some specific terminologies. When you are in a certain profession, you should know about those terminologies, right? So if you do not know about certain expressions, certain words, again, you will be facing a language barrier. So in order to avoid any confusion, you should be able to use clear and simple language that is understood by everybody. Also, you need to keep enhancing your language skills. You need to keep working on your communication skills. Oh, yes, I think I did not tell you this. Communication skills is not an overnight job. This is something that you keep improving every day. You keep getting better every day. Okay. For that, you need to read, you need to write, you need to speak, you need to listen to get better, to get comfortable with a few words, to get comfortable with grammar, to get comfortable with a certain style of talking. You need to practice it every day in every moment. Okay. Now, next comes the cultural barrier. Cultural barrier is then you don't have the knowledge of the different cultures. So it gets difficult to communicate people from different culture. Now, when you go to a workplace, when you are in a business, when you are, you for a job, you travel outside, you will face that people will have cultural differences. There are certain differences, right? So understanding various cultures in the era of globalization is an absolute necessity. Nowadays, when we are working with people globally, and we are also working interstate, it's very important for us to understand their culture. So now how culture can become a barrier, how this thing can go wrong. It can be problematic because again, there's an example giving in this thing. is the way food served by a member of family. It can cause appreciation and displeasure. Now, every family has a different style of eating the food and serving the food. For some people, it is, it's the entire thing is very appreciative and they appreciate those things. For some people, it is not, right? So there's certain type of living in the lifestyle that they have. Like for example, I'm just giving one example, which is out of the context, but just still giving an example. In some cultures, gifting perfume is offensive. We all give perfumes all the time, and we find it a great gifting thing that we gift perfume to somebody, right? But and we give it in a good way, right? In our culture, right? But in some cultures, they find it offensive. I think these are Asian countries only. Um, I'm not sure, Malaysia, Mauritius, somewhere. So they get offended if somebody gives them perfume because they feel that if somebody is giving you perfume, that means they are telling you that you should use perfume because you smell bad, you have a bad odor. Okay, so some people at their culture they don't give perfumes. Okay, in our culture we do give perfumes. Perfume makes the great gifts, right? So this is a cultural barrier, right? Now, in your country, you give perfume, perfect. But if what if you start working in an area where there is a cultural barrier, and there the things will go wrong. Okay, and that can create problems at your workplace as well. Because if somebody is offended by it, are we clear? Yes. Any conclusions still here? Are we clear with these two or these four actually? And every organization also has their own culture, okay, that you need to understand when you enter. You need to observe the culture first. What is a culture? What is a routine people follow? How things work? Because every workplace will have their own culture. So you need to understand that first to adjust in that culture. If you don't, then you will face some problems, right? Of course, you need to be comfortable with that too, but in case you can. I'll give you one more example. So, and internationally, when people offer jobs to people coming from abroad, right, they are reluctant when it comes to cultural barriers. I mean, you have good degrees, you have good knowledge, you have talent, you just stand out perfect. But how well will you be able to adjust in their culture? That comes into the question. And so many people are not comfortable themselves also. So they prefer students who have people who have done course from their own country only, because people who have studied in that particular country would know, understand the culture better than somebody altogether coming from a different country just for the job. There is a difference. Somewhere this becomes a problem. Not everywhere, I would say. People get job offers every day internationally. They're doing very well, right? And they have to adjust to their culture as well. But if you have done, for example, if you go for a course in US, right? You spend 3 years in a university there, and then you look for a job. You will be able to adjust there better because you understand the culture of Americans, like what offends them, what how they like things to be, how they talk, because it's totally different. I don't know if you know that or not. Even if you travel within the state, for example, people think that Punjabis are very cool and they're a little loud. For South Indians, things are very different, right? What is offending for the North Indians might not be offensive for South Indians. We are divided in our own country also. We have every state has its own culture and everybody behaves in a certain way. So, having said that, having a knowledge makes you more fit in different cultures, and it's good to know it. I think it's brilliant. And just out of the context, you learn about cultures while reading and watching movies a lot. You learn about their cultures, how they like to eat, what do they like to eat, like how they want their tables to be set up, everything. Okay. Then comes the emotional barriers. Okay, now what do you mean by emotional barriers? One is that you should be able to communicate openly and freely so that there is no emotional barrier. Now, if there is a certain space where you cannot communicate yourself openly and freely, then in that case, uh, you have an emotional barrier. Okay. Uh, we carry with us certain feelings and sentiments. We carry so many feelings in us that affects our communication and its quality. Now, if there is somebody who is upset and disturbed, that person won't be able to pass on to the information appropriately, right? And similarly, if you're too excited, in that case, also you're not able to communicate in certain things effectively and appropriately. Now, so this is why people say that when you're too angry, when you're too happy, do not share information, because in that case you won't be effective. Attitude barrier. Personal attitudes of employees can affect the communication within the organization. Some people are very proactive and motivated. They will process the communication process and they will facilitate it. Whereas somebody who is not satisfied, somebody who is always shy, introvert, and lazy can delay and will not take any initiative and refuse to communicate. Right? So everybody has their own attitude. Some people are extroverts, some people are comfortable talking. They will communicate better than the people who are shy, who are not very confident, and then they don't like to talk to anybody. So there's an attitude difference. The person who's extrovert, his or her communication skills will be more effective because they like to talk, they like to present their ideas, they like to express themselves, they're used to of it. But whereas somebody who's shy, the other person is not very used to expressing himself or herself, which is why the communication won't be effective. And that is where the attitude barrier comes into play. Then comes the perception. Now everybody have their own perception also, and different perceptions can cause misconceptions, miscommunications, and misunderstandings. Because I have a different perception about certain thing, and I will communicate what I feel. That that not might not be the real case. In that case, there will be misconception. Okay, I won't be able to communicate it effectively because I'm biased because of my perception. Physiological problem. Now, in this case, it comes with the physical problems that people have. They're not well, they have poor eyesight, uh, and they have difficulty in hearing or any other problem. In that case, also communication will be affected because at times they don't understand things very well, or at times they're not able to express themselves very well. So this thing, I think, I'm sure everybody knows, when people are not well, they can't communicate properly. Technology barriers. Now we all are surrounded with technology. We are always in the middle of technology. So technology can be a barrier too. If it is a blessing for us, it could be a barrier too. How? Now, in the technology, communication technology, things are upgraded and new formats emerge almost like every day. Every day there is a new thing. So anybody who's not a technologically friendly person will face problems. Okay. जिसको भी टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ बढ़ना नहीं आता है उसको प्रॉब्लम होती है, बिकॉज आजकल हम सब टेक्नोलॉजी से सराउंडेड. We all are this communication that we are having, these classes are also possible only because of technology, right? So अगर हम अपग्रेडेड नहीं है, अगर हमें टेक्नोलॉजी यूज करना नहीं आता है, तो कहीं ना कहीं हमारा कम्युनिकेशन फिर इफेक्ट होता है. जिनको वीडियो कॉल्स यूज करना नहीं आता है, जिनको फोन यूज करने नहीं आते हैं, तो उनके लिए इट्स अ बैरियर, राइट? दे कैन नॉट टॉक प्रॉपर्ली, right? Moreover, an individual is swarmed with a huge amount of information every day in the form of emails, texts, and social updates. Multitasking is a norm these days. The information overload and trying to accomplish too many things together can result in gaps and resulting in miscommunication. Now, what it means is towards the end of the paragraph, last paragraph of the chapter is that we are surrounded with so many things. We have so many I mean, we are multitasking each day. We're surrounded with so many things. And in the process of trying to do everything and, being able to communicate through every modes, sometimes the information is so overloaded that we try to accomplish everything, but we cannot. There are some gaps in the results. So this was about the communication. Abhinav, I will try to quickly explain because I have another task to take care of. Okay. फिजिकल बैरियर वो बैरियर होता है जिसमें हम सराउंडिंग्स की वजह से हमारी कम्युनिकेशन में प्रॉब्लम आती है. कोई एक्सटर्नल साउंड है, कोई टेक्निकल डिस्टर्बेंस है, कोई ऑफिस के डोर्स बंद है, आवाज नहीं आ रही है. आई मीन कुछ भी फिजिकली जब भी कोई बैरियर होता है कम्युनिकेशन में, वो फिजिकल बैरियर होता है. ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल होता है जब किसी को ये नहीं पता होता है कि हमने किसको रिस्पॉन्ड करना है. इंफॉर्मेशन बीच में लॉस्ट हो जाती है बिकॉज आपको पता ही नहीं है कि आपको किसको रिपोर्ट करना था, किससे प्रॉब्लम पूछनी थी, और उस चक्कर में प्रॉब्लम सॉर्ट आउट नहीं हो पाती है. एंड देन आपको पता ही नहीं किससे कम्युनिकेट करना है, तो वो एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल स्ट्रक्चर बैरियर बन जाता है. लैंग्वेज बैरियर होता है जब आपकी एक लैंग्वेज के बारे में नॉलेज नहीं होती है, एंड यू कैन नॉट कम्युनिकेट इन अ प्रॉपर वोकैबुलरी. आपको नहीं पता कैसे यूज करना है, सामने वाले का आपको नहीं पता कि वो किस वर्ड का मतलब क्या समझेगा. सो अगर आपको नॉलेज नहीं है लैंग्वेजेस के बारे में, तो वहां पे प्रॉब्लम आता है. देन कम्स द कल्चरल बैरियर. कल्चरल बैरियर होता है जब भी आप एक वर्क प्लेस में जाते हैं. हर वर्क प्लेस का अपना एक कल्चर होता है. अगर हम उस कल्चर को नहीं समझते हैं तो हम फिट नहीं हो पाते हैं, तब प्रॉब्लम्स आती हैं कम्युनिकेशन में. उसका मतलब ये भी है कि जब हम किसी और कंट्री में काम करने चाहते हैं, हम किसी और स्टेट में काम करने चाहते हैं, सबका अपना तरीका है काम करने का. जो चीज आपके लिए सही है वो जरूरी नहीं दूसरे के लिए भी सही हो, उसके लिए वो ऑफेंसिव हो सकती है. और वहां आता है बैरियर इन कम्युनिकेशन, क्योंकि आप कुछ और कहना चाह रहे थे और सामने वाले ने कुछ और समझ लिया, तो उससे मिस कम्युनिकेशन हो गया और कंफ्यूजन क्रिएट हो गई. देन कम्स द इमोशनल बैरियर. इमोशनल बैरियर मीन्स एट टाइम्स हम कभी भी अपने आप को फ्रीली एक्सप्रेस जब तक नहीं कर पाते हैं, तब तक हमारे अंदर एक इमोशनल बैरियर आता है, क्योंकि हम अपने आप को कम्युनिकेट नहीं कर पा रहे हैं प्रॉपरली. सो और हमारे अंदर इतनी सारी फीलिंग्स होती है. गुस्सा होता है, क्रिटिसिज्म होता है, जेलसी होती है, मिसट्रस्ट होता है. सो अगर उसकी वजह से अगर कोई बहुत ही ओवरवेलमिंग इमोशन होता है हमें, तो भी हमारी कम्युनिकेशन इफेक्टिव नहीं होती है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर कोई बहुत गुस्से में है, उस गुस्से में कहीं भी बात वो गलत होती है. कई बार आप कई बार सही बात नहीं बोल पाते हैं. यू आर नॉट एबल टू एक्सप्रेस योरसेल्फ प्रॉपरली, राइट? और वहां से कंफ्यूजन क्रिएट हो जाता है. समटाइम्स पीपल आर ओवर एक्साइटेड एंड ओवर एंथुसियास्टिक. वहां भी लोग गलत बातें बोल जाते हैं और गलत चीज कन्वे कर जाते हैं. तो उस केस में भी प्रॉब्लम्स आती हैं, वहां पे भी कंफ्यूजन क्रिएट हो जाती है. एटीट्यूड बैरियर. जब लोगों का एटीट्यूड ही अलग होता है. कई लोग बात करने में बहुत अच्छे होते हैं एंड दे आर वेरी ओपन अबाउट इट, और बहुत एक्सट्रोवर्ट होते हैं. सो वो बात बहुत अच्छे से कर पाते हैं. रादर पीपल जो शाय होते हैं और जिनको बातें करने का बिल्कुल भी एक्सपीरियंस नहीं होता है, वहां पे प्रॉब्लम्स अगेन आती है. बिकॉज वो क्योंकि उनको नहीं पता कि अपने आप को कैसे एक्सप्रेस करना है, अप्रोप्रिएटली अपनी बात कैसे रखनी है, बिकॉज दे आर नॉट इंटरेस्टेड इन टॉकिंग. सो वहां एक एटीट्यूड प्रॉब्लम आता है. परसेप्शन. हम सब अपने अपने परसेप्शन से कहीं ना कहीं बायस्ड होते हैं, राइट? तो अगर और सबका अपना अपना एक प्रॉब्लम को समझने का तरीका होता है, राइट? आपका प्रॉब्लम को समझने का तरीका अलग है, मेरा अलग है. तो जब भी हमारे प्रॉब्लम्स के वो अलग अलग होते हैं, तो एक ही चीज का जब हम अलग अलग इंटरप्रेट करते हैं, वहां पे प्रॉब्लम्स आती हैं जब हम कम्युनिकेट करते हैं. क्योंकि आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट समथिंग एल्स, यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट समथिंग एल्स, बिकॉज हमारे परसेप्शंस अलग हैं, राइट? वहां अगेन कंफ्यूजन क्रिएट है. देन कम्स द फिजियोलॉजिकल बैरियर. फिजियोलॉजिकल बैरियर मींस जब भी किसी को फिजिकल प्रॉब्लम होती है और उसकी वजह से कम्युनिकेशन में प्रॉब्लम आती है. एट टाइम्स लोग ठीक से देख नहीं पाते हैं, ठीक से सुन नहीं पाती हैं, उनकी तबीयत खराब है और any problem. So in that case, communication problem आता है. I mean, we all have faced this. When we have fever, when we get down with fever, we don't like talking, right? और उस टाइम हो सकता है कि हम जो चीज बोलना चाह रहे हैं वो हम ठीक से नहीं बोलते हैं उस टाइम. टेक्नोलॉजी बैरियर, और टेक्नोलॉजी बैरियर इज जिस इंसान को भी टेक्नोलॉजी की नॉलेज नहीं है, जो भी अपने आप को टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ अपग्रेड नहीं करता है, उस केस में उनको प्रॉब्लम आती है. क्योंकि फिर वो आजकल, क्योंकि वी ऑल आर सराउंडेड बाय टेक्नोलॉजी, हम सबको वही यूज करना है और हम सब उसी से सराउंडेड है. हमारी लाइफ मूव्स अराउंड टेक्नोलॉजी एंड कम्युनिकेशन, लाइक फोन्स, व्हाट्सएप, यूट्यूब, वीडियो कॉल्स. सो अगर हम ये समझाते तो अगेन दैट बिकम्स अ बैरियर टू कम्युनिकेशन. आर वी क्लियर? Any problems? So this was the end of the chapter. Now after this we will be discussing sort of, it's not a case study exactly, but I will be showing you certain situations and we will be discussing that. We still have half an hour to go. We have long discussions to take care of. So if you have any problem, please ask me now, otherwise I'll proceed. Great. Lisa, what is the problem? I've just explained in Hindi to you. Any problem? Oh, great. अभी ना फिजियोलॉजिकल बैरियर होता है जब कोई फिजिकली प्रॉब्लम होती है किसी को और उसकी वजह से वो कम्युनिकेट ठीक से नहीं कर पाते हैं. Okay, now everyone on your screens, I'm going to show you certain situations. You have to, after that, listen to it very carefully. The video is little unclear, but you will get an idea about what I'm trying to show here. I'm going to show you two situations. One is a good interview situation, one is a bad interview situation, right? दो situations हैं, same बंदा interview ले रहा है, क्या problem है हम दोनों में? That we will see, and then we will discuss about how we feel about the situations. I'm just sharing the screen. Okay.
Sorry, I'm late. I'm really sorry about that.
Oh, it's okay. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah.
I'm Miss Faulkner and I'll be interviewing you today. Do you have your resume?
Oh, yeah.
Please listen to it very carefully.
Great.
Observe her.
Yeah.
Oh, is it this? That's your...
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
It's on the back of the application thing or whatever it is.
Very convenient, thank you. Okay, the interview is very standard. It's just 3 simple questions. If you have any questions about how I'm wording or something like that, then you can just interrupt me. Feel free.
Yeah, all right, yeah. My first question, how much do I get paid?
Well, we start usually off at $9 an hour. It's not me.
Oh, sorry about that. Where is it? Come on, little peekaboo.
Okay, now tell me what is happening here. What is the situation? What are these two women doing here? Okay, so this is an interview situation. The woman on the left is the interviewer, and the one on the right is the interviewee. So she has come for the interview, right? And the one on the left is going to hire, looking to people to hire. Okay. Now, what was the problem? What kind of, is the interviewer formal or informal? First, tell me that. Let's discuss about the behavior of the interviewer first, the one on the left. Is she formal or informal? Formal. So the one who is taking the interview is formal, right? So she is just behaving the way people behave, and she's properly dressed up. Her posture, if you look at, she's sitting properly. She's focused. She's attention that she's sitting here for the interview, right? But whereas the interviewee, if you have observed, how did she walk in? Was that appropriate? Was walking in like this was appropriate? What kind of impression did she create? How is she behaving? What kind of impression did she create on the interviewer? Is she casual? Yes, she's very casual. And the way she's sitting on the chair, that is also so casual, improper. I'm just going to repeat again how she's sitting on the chair.
If you have any questions about how I'm wording or something like that, then you can just
look at
interrupt
her
me, feel
gestures.
free.
Yeah, all right, yeah. My first question, how much do I get paid?
Well, we start usually off at $9 an hour. It's not me.
Look at the way she's behaving, her expressions, her body language, her gestures, her tone of speaking.
Come on, little peekaboo.
And of course,
Oh, it's Christine.
is she dressed formally for the interview? Is she dressed formally for the interview? I am discussing about the non-verbal communications essentials right now. Her physical non-verbal communication skills, her paralanguage, her appearance, right? So look at all these three. That is not formal. So you have to see how non-verbal communications are so loud, no matter how intelligent you are. If she's casually dressed up, yes, she's like her paralanguage, it's not correct because she's speaking it so loudly and so casually. The way she's sitting, the way she walked in, the way she's moving her hands, it's not at all formal or appropriate for the situation. And now she does another mistake of picking up the phone. You know, not Whenever you're in the middle of the conversation, you don't pick up the phone like that. Whenever you're in a meeting, unless it's an emergency, and that too also you inform the other person it's an emergency. Can I just pick up the call, please? Give me 2 minutes. Yes, she did not inform her. She just casually picked up the phone and she started talking.
Hi, Christine. How you doing? Yeah, I know you left early.
And now she started talking casually over the phone with her friend. Yes. What else do you notice? What do you notice about her language skills? About her oral communication? What do you notice? Okay.
Yeah. But it was a good time. Yeah, actually, I've been at an interview. No.
So now she tells a friend that
Would
I'm
you
in
be
the
able to tell me about a
interview.
time when you worked
Okay.
on a team?
Team. You know, if you rearrange those letters, it spells me. Me. I'm number one. No, well, a team, I guess. Cheerleading. Ooh! Yeah, it was good.
Can you think of any examples when you went above and beyond what was expected of you?
Every day. Every day I go above and beyond what's expected of me. Like, I'm just that good. Like, I'm not trying to sell myself or anything, but, like, I really am, like, the whole deal. Like, everything you could ever want is me.
Okay.
Me!
Okay. Now she's very casual about her answers. Whatever she's answering, she's just answering so casually. And it's not even appropriately the way she's answering. Yes, you are right. Nobody asked how much am I getting paid as a first question, right? You need to first answer properly. Yes, she is very loud. If you have noticed, the interviewer is very soft spoken and very sweet. And cell phones, you always put your phones on the vibration mode before entering for the meeting or interview, especially. Yeah, so this is all informal. And is this correct? Now, why I am showing you this video is that you need to notice that how non-verbal communication can also convey so many things other than the verbal communication. Whatever answers she's giving wrong is one side, but how she's behaving in interview is also considerable. I mean, it's considerable that no, this is not okay, right? Yeah, and she's swinging here and there, and this is not okay when you are sitting for a formal meeting and whenever you're going for the interview, right? Okay. Now, can we see another example here?
No specific examples.
Well, D&G shoes, Louis Vuitton, or anything, like a purse. And you know what? I didn't leave until I got them. I mean, the security.
Also,
Thank you.
she's not answering to the questions. She's just going here and there. So, coming on to the characteristics of communication, tell me which all characteristics are missing in her communication skills. Yes, of course, she's rejected. Now, you have to tell me what all characteristics of effective communications are missing. You want me to show you another snippet before you decide on to the characteristics? Or this much was enough? Focus and attention, very good. Next. I would say, okay, you try first. I'm going to show you a last snippet once again so that you can decide what all characteristics are missing.
Or anything, like a purse. And you know what? I didn't leave. Finish. Well, there was that one time that I went to the the mall and told myself, I said, Melissa, you're not going to leave until you find D&G shoes, Louis Vuitton, or anything, like a purse. And you know what? I didn't leave until I got them. I mean, the security guard told me to leave because it was a little bit late, but that's all right.
Right.
I've done worse things than stay out late in the mall.
Well,
worse things. Oh, I guess I probably shouldn't say that. Okay.
Well, that's absolutely perfect. We're going to be making our decision in the next couple of days, so you'll get a phone
Great.
call.
Yeah. All right. I'm almost
It
late.
was a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
C. Focus and attention, very good. Conciseness is missing. I would say coherence is also missing because she's not logically answering the questions. I mean, her words, her sentences, paragraphs are just going here and there. I mean, whatever she was asking something else. So coherence is there, conciseness is there. Focus and attention, yes. Clarity, she's speaking too much. So, I mean, she's talking about unrequired details. So, I mean, the details are not required, which is why there's no clarity of that conversations also. Okay, anything else? Listen for understanding. Now, she was not listening for understanding. She was just answering whatever she wanted, right? She was not understanding or she was not listening whatever the interviewer was asking. Whereas if you see, interviewer was pretty formal, she was calm and composed, her questions were totally apt, and the interviewee was just talking about anything. Courteousness, yes, she was not courteous to the interviewer, right? So all of these things, if you see the communication skills also, she lagged into so many things other than the non-verbal communication. I mean, whatever the non-verbal gestures that she showed was separate, but in terms of communication skills also, all the characteristics was missing. Are we clear? Did you get a fair idea about what I'm talking here? Not all, I would say, but yeah, mostly yes. Mostly characteristics were missing. Okay. So now I'm going to show you another video. Let's see how the interviewer and interviewee behaves in this one. One second, I'm just uploading. I'm so sorry, just give me a second. Once again, I'm so sorry. This is taking the time. There was another video that I had looked for. Okay, let's continue with that one only. Yes, I can see everybody's answer. Just giving the tags. Okay. What's the problem? Okay. Okay, now look at this one. A small snippet. I won't, stretch this one. You can just quickly look at it. Can you see it on your screens? Okay. So here you go.
The interview itself is very standard. Have the resume with you? Thank you. Thank you. Hi.
Hello.
I'm Miss Faulkner. I'll be interviewing you today.
Hi, I'm Sweeney Todd.
Do you have your resume with you?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You can take a seat.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, this is all in order. The interview itself is very standard, 3 simple questions. If you're not sure what I'm asking, just stop and ask me or phrase, interrupt me, it's fine.
Sure.
Okay, so would you be able to tell me about a time when you worked on a team?
Well, actually, my previous job, I was working at another call center, so the team that I was on was a specific campaign where we had to market and actually sell certain products. So we were divided up into 2 teams within the team, so we each had goals on whether or not we were selling things or whether or not we had to come up with a new marketing campaign. So basically, it was one big group effort in the team to make sure we had, the right.
All right. So what is the difference that you see in this video? Yes, he's very formal, yes. Other than that, let's talk about the non-verbal skills that we notice in him. What are non-verbal communication skills that we notice in him? And how is it he different from that lady? He's formally dressed up, very good. He's courteous. He did not just enter and just sat down on the chair. Good eye contact, very good. He's in discipline. He's courteous. If you look at his body language, if you look at his gestures, he's sitting perfectly. This is how you're supposed to sit in the interviews. If you notice his tone and the pitch, it's perfect. He's not loud. He's not. He's not speaking too low as well. It's just perfect. And the way he's answering to the questions formally, not just casually. Okay. Tone is perfect. Yes. Polite. Yes. Okay. Now quickly, let's jump to the essentials of characteristics of effective communication. What all is there? Just listen to him again for last 10 seconds.
Stats and standings, things like that.
Okay, that's great. All right. Could you tell me about a time when you went above and beyond what was expected of you?
Well, this semester I was taking a number of courses, but one of them was chemistry, and my teacher and I decided that I wasn't being challenged enough in the course that I was in, so we basically worked out a schedule where I could do an independent study of chemistry AP, which is basically the advanced. So, you know, the normal curriculum wasn't just reaching where the teacher thought that I needed to be in my learning, so we basically went above what I needed to learn for that year and got a good head start on university.
Great, okay. And would you just please tell me about a time when you worked on a project from start to finish? What was the...
Okay, so now tell me. Listening and understanding, perfect. He's been listening to understand the question and then answer, which is so important. If you notice that she was satisfied with his response for the first question and then she moved to another question. Coherence, clarity, focus and attention. All the characteristics are present. Almost all the characteristics are present. So you see the difference. Now, whom do you think will get the job? The first one, the second one? Both the interviews were, scheduled back to back. So which one do you think gets the job? Which one do you think gets the job? The second one. This is quite clear. The second one gets the job. The second one was more appropriate. Also, the appearance, like I always say, the first impression creates and means a lot when you enter in the cabin or in the room, because that says a lot about you. The first one, her first impression was not appropriate, but whereas the second one, he just created the impression as soon as he entered. It looked like that he's serious for this job. He wants this job, right? In the case of the girl, it was very clear that this job is very casual for her. She just came just like that, right? So the idea behind showing you these videos was to show you visually. Now, this was visual communication here, to show you visually that how things matter. Right. Now, this was just to sum up what we have studied so far, how communication skills are so important, how not only verbal is important, non-verbal is also important. How you behave in a certain situation also matters a lot. Now, with this, we are done with the chapter number 1. If there are any questions, please ask me. Otherwise, we'll end the class and I'll meet you next time for another chapter after a few days. Yes, please quickly ask me. And yes, mostly you will be getting subjective questions. I do not think you get case study based questions, but you can just check the previous year's question papers on the website. And you will get the PPTs today by the end of the day, for sure. Anything else? Do let me know how was today's session. Do fill up the feedback form. And if I'm still waiting 5 minutes, if there's any doubt, I can clear it right now. Physical and physiological barrier. Physiological barrier, I told you, it's because of the physical problem that the person is facing within himself. Physical problem as like somebody's ill, somebody's some disablement or impairment, something that somebody feels within himself or herself. Physical barrier is because of the external physical things. For example, the doors, or maybe you're not able to understand this external noise when two people are talking and you don't understand each other. So this is physical barrier. Okay, great, guys. Great. I'm glad that all the doubts are clear. There is no doubt that you guys have. Please read this chapter. It's pretty easy. There is nothing much in it. If you read it, you will understand it better. You will understand it better. give it a read and go through the RTP questions which are uploaded, go through the previous year's questions and the response suggested answers given to you. You will understand it even better, right? And you can quickly cover up this chapter. Zeba, you just need to look up the dictionary for these things. Okay, address certain needs is to talk about certain needs, to pay heed or pay attention to certain needs. So when people talk amongst themselves in a grapevine situation, when people talk to their colleagues and a way of gossiping or just talking unofficially, they talk about a lot of problems that they have, and those problems are resolved right there. So they don't keep it to their hearts. This is why we say that this is healthy for the company. This is very important for the situation, because in that case, people can just vent their hearts out and then we can talk about it. Domain is within the area. It's subjective. I don't think there's an objective question from this chapter. Objective is mostly from the chapter number 2 and 3. And maybe for comprehension to some extent, but not from this chapter. You will get subjective question only. Okay, with this note, I'm going to end the class. I hope you had a great session and do well. Please study this chapter and prepare it side by side so that you do not get worried in the last moment. Keep doing this. And like I always say, this is one subject that you will get better with practice. Read business magazines, read business newspapers, listen to the news, and read books, and then practice what you're reading. Try to organize your thoughts and then speak so that you learn the communication skills, which is very, very important in today's date. If you're not able to communicate yourself well, that could be a barrier too. All right, bye-bye guys. Have a great day.